It is great to say. Welcome back to Kingdom Kast. This is your host, Bad Luck Chuck. And over to the top right-hand corner is my guy, Country. And over to the bottom right-hand corner is my guy, Boogie. And this week's special guest to the bottom left-hand corner, he writes for Arrowhead Pride. He's the lead analyst for Arrowhead Pride. So we'd like to welcome Ron Kopp Jr. to this week's episode of Kingdom Kast. Ron, how you doing this evening, man?
I'm doing good. As good as you can for this dead period between OTAs and training camp. It's kind of boring, or it was supposed to be boring until we get some bad news in between sometimes, but we'll talk on that. But yeah, no, thanks for having me on, guys. I really like the show. Really appreciate you having me on.
Well, we'll appreciate you. It's great to be back, man. After all of us took the week off, to enjoy 4th of July and everything. So, as a matter of fact, how was everybody's 4th? Just to kick things off.
It was cool. I was in Wichita Friday and Saturday and like till Sunday morning. And Wichita is boring. But I was at Brahms like every night, bro. I was gonna try Spangles, but my boy Kyle said don't go to Spangles. I don't like their burgers, so I just skipped them and went back to the hotel and got some more brawn. And the banana split. Oh my God, that banana split is everything, bro.
I heard it's pretty fire. Heard the banana split's pretty fire. I still have yet to try bronze, man.
I tried it once. It was pretty good. Honestly, it was in high school, so I honestly don't remember what I even got, but it was good.
I ain't never heard of.
Oh,
you never heard of Brahms? You ever been to Oklahoma? It's all over Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's like Oklahoma,
and like Texas and stuff right like that. There. They got some fire ice cream, bro, for real.
Yes.
The burgers and all that, that's but the ice cream is fire.
Yeah, so like another Dairy Queen or a better Dairy Queen per se.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Definitely.
I was shooting off fireworks 4th of July. I live on the Kansas side, and so it's illegal over here. My girlfriend's or my fiance's parents, I got to get used to saying that. Fiance's parents, they live in Kansas City, Missouri. It's legal there. Everyone was blowing off fireworks, so it was fun. It was hype all night.
My neighbor been popping firecrackers every day this week. I ain't gonna say where I live at or nothing like that, but every day this week. They been getting me in. I don't know. I'm like, dang, y'all still got firecrackers? I popped everything. This is the first 4th of July. I popped everything I had. I wouldn't know. You usually keep some. You usually got some sparklers or something left. Some bottle rockets. I popped everything. And my little cousin.
Nice.
Yeah. So, what's up, Mark?
Markel,
what's up with it, bro?
Markel, okay, my bad. I'm sorry.
Oh, you good?
So let's get the bad news out the way first.
Yep, let's get it out the way, man. So,
your boy Frank Clark, he got caught with the gun in the Lambo truck. First of all, appreciation for him driving a Lambo truck. I wish I knew what color it was. I wish I knew how it looked, because I've never seen a Lambo truck in my life. I've heard about him. I've never seen him. He had the Uzi with him. Now, is this for the first charge or the second one? Because we got 2 of them.
Well, this is for from what I'm seeing here, this is from Herbie Ethiopia. He said he can confirm that the LA County District's office that Frank Clark was charged on 1 felony count of possession of assault weapon. And this is from the March incident, not the June incident.
Yeah, that's the thing. No, we still don't. This isn't even the extent of the punishment that we're going to see from him, I feel like, because there's still more coming down the road. So that's why it's tough right now to kind of guess on a suspension, because, you'd assume the next charge, the June charge, would be a similar charge, right? Because it seems like it was similar crimes. Like he did kind of the same thing, which is a little – that's the crazy part to me. It sounds like he did the exact same thing about 3 months apart in the exact same place. I don't know. We don't know all the details right now, but it just seems a little Oh man, a little just spacey on Frank's part. Like, come on, dude, you gotta be a little safer after the first one for sure. Like, accidents happen, I can excuse one, I guess, but man, two, that's gonna make it tough for it to justify and for him to kind of get off smoothly, I guess. So that's tough. That's tough.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so like they said, Frank Clark will be arraigned on July the 14th per the DA spokesperson.
What's that? Tuesday? Wednesday?
Yeah, I think Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, it's rough, bro. Like LA, you got money. You got to protect yourself. It's kind of, man, it's like I'd rather be caught with it than without it, because we seen what happened to KCP with the Lakers. He got robbed. Damian Williams got robbed at the Airbnb in LA?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I heard
it's
about
not like he's.
Oh yeah.
You got to protect yourself, right? We prefer to be on you or on your security or whatever. It's hard to tell that man you got to stay at home and make him a prisoner in his house. But at the same time, you got to be smarter. You got to be smarter. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll wait to see. He got money. He got a lawyer. He'll get it pleaded down to something, and they'll probably get him for 2 games. That's what I think is going to happen. Everybody that want to cut him or release him today, calm down, please. Please calm down.
Well,
Y'all think it's bad? Y'all think our DNs are bad now? Get rid of Frank Clark and see how good they look.
well, hey, I seen Sully saying that. I don't know if the numbers is exactly right, but if we cut him, it's $20 million, right?
Dead money.
Yeah, I saw Spot Track, the guy, or no, it was Over the Cap. Yeah, he tweeted that out. Even with all the guarantees out of the way, it'd still be 20 million dead cap. So, nah. No, I do think one point that I kind of thought of as we were going through this is, this is happening kind of close to the season. So who knows? Like maybe this stuff gets so pushed back, court dates and hearings and all that. That stuff takes forever to go through. Maybe he doesn't even get anything for this year, but maybe by next year it starts catching up to him. Maybe he gets suspended then. So that's the thing. It's kind of up in the air right now. Like if this stuff does take a while, maybe we don't see any sort of suspension. I think like this year at least, but I do think knowing Goodell, knowing the NFL, they're going to want to get him down for something, especially with 2 of these charges this offseason. I'm sure there'll be something this season. But
you think they'll suspend him this year, even without letting it play out?
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Like maybe they and so we were kind of talking about in the Arrowhead Pride group chat when it first came out. Like maybe there's some sort of suspension right now just because it happened. Like he did get in trouble. Like the NFL wants to make an example of it. But maybe like it's a short suspension now, and then maybe there's even another suspension down the road when it's all figured out, something like that. But I don't know. It's all speculation. We were just kind of thinking it through. Yeah, I don't know. It is just kind of, we don't know all the details. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. So, but
you think if he get a good lawyer, you can consolidate them together, right? You probably can just put them together and man, just get it over with. Just give me my 2 or my 4 or give me 6, and then we're gonna just cut it down to 4. You know how they do. You know how they suspend you, then they cut it down 2 games. Do that. It looked like they throwing the book at you. They gave you 6, cut it down to 4 for good behavior, and it's over. You don't have to play a heavy fine.
The thing though is like the prosecutor, like it's probably not doing him any favors with the prosecutor that it did happen twice. Like it happened March and June. Like I feel like if it was just one incident, maybe he gets off a little easier, or they're a little easier on him. But just because it's twice, he was in the process of already going through one of them and he got in trouble again. I don't know. It's going to make it a little tougher, I feel like, for him to kind of get off, unscathed. But like I said, we'll see. We don't know.
Yeah, as we've learned in the past, we just learn to wait for all the details to come out, let things play out.
As Chiefs fans, we know. We got to just let them play out.
Yeah, I'm with DJ on them comments.
Yeah, definitely, man. The NFL, they're gonna wait. They're gonna wait this out a little longer, I think.
Yeah.
Because if the charges end up getting dropped for some whatever reason, if he could prove it was his security guard, both of them get dropped, and you suspended him 2-3 games, and he lost his pay. You gonna have to give it back to him. You don't want to do that, do you?
Yeah, that's a whole other problem for the league. So yeah, I'm with you on that. That makes sense. But I don't know. We'll see. I guess Wednesday we might get more info. So I guess we'll just have to wait on that.
Yep, definitely.
While we're on the Frank Clark topic, though, I don't know if you guys saw it on Twitter. I quote tweeted it and kind of clowned the guy, but his name's Scott Kazmar or something. But basically, he was like, future headline, potential dynasty turns into a 10-7 team all the time, and he was saying it because of this Frank Clark stuff. Like, how silly is that? Like, do we really think Frank Clark not being on the field, like, even if he's not on the field ever again for the Chiefs, like, is that really going to impact him that much on the field, like, success-wise, wins-wise? Like, maybe, you're losing a good guy, like we kind of said with Country. Like, you need that position. You need a guy at that position. You don't have a lot of guys behind him, a lot of experience. But, man, to think that it's going to really affect that team to drop down to a fringe playoff team, I thought that was really silly. People have been clowning him on Twitter, so I don't know if you guys saw that.
Well, I don't really
Man, that's the secret, bro. That's the secret for any national reporter. Say something about the Chiefs, you get all the clicks, you get all the attention that you want. Because we not used to being the main guy. So we attack. Every time you say anything slight, it's disrespect. And we jumping on you. And you're gonna get all the clicks and all the attention that you deserve or that you wanted. That's the only reason you would say anything like that, bro. Just because we lost Frank Clark, we going to 10-7. Like,
right?
Y'all know who Pat Mahomes is. We didn't have Frank Clark in 2018. What is wrong with y'all?
And that's the thing. Kent, shout out Kent Swanson. He made the point. Yeah, what you just said, Country. He quote tweeted it saying, "Remember 2018? That defense was awful, and they were still at 12-4, the number 1 seed in the playoffs." So, yeah, or number 2 seed, I should say.
He needed some clicks. He got Scott. Congratulations, Scott.
I'll tell you one thing, man. It's definitely gonna make it might make Patrick Mahomes' job a little more challenging. Who have to score a few more points, because man, that's been my concern. Before the training camp gets going, is that do we have enough up front, man, in our front seven? You know what I mean? Because you definitely want it. Because to me, I've always said it. Or everybody knows, like, football, it starts in the trenches. Like, if you don't have great trenches, you're not gonna win. Offensive line was straight. Defensive line, I don't know. Or front seven, I don't know. It looks good on paper, but do we have the depth just in case this situation with Frank Clark or a key injury happens? That's just my thing.
Yeah, that's the thing about the defensive line. I think it has gotten better this offseason. I do think in general, just when you're talking about adding Jaron Reed, getting Taco Charlton back from injury, younger guys just getting better, like a Turk Wharton, even a Tim Ward. I like Tim Ward. I saw him, week 17, we all saw him have a pretty good game, and he fits that Spags prototype, what he wants with the length and the edge, at the edge position. And then if your 5th defensive tackle is Colin Saunders, former 3rd-round pick, like, I know he hasn't done much in his career so far, but, last year he did get hurt at the beginning of the year, kind of just set him back, and he never was able to really recover from that. Who knows? It's his 3rd year. It's kind of tough for defensive linemen to, get into the NFL. We don't see a lot of defensive linemen, if you're not like the top pick, break out right away, right? So, I don't know. I do think there is some pretty solid depth. It's just not top heavy, as top heavy as you probably want. You probably want a little better edge defenders out there. I know, like, having Frank as your best player and then Taco Charlton your 2nd best defensive end, like, you kind of want a little bit. But we know Jones is playing more defensive end this year, so I think that versatility as well gives them a lot more different options. And just overall, I think they are stronger than they were last year. And I really think I kind of buried the lead a little bit, but Jaron Reed is the biggest part of that. I mean, I think Jaron Reed is going to be a huge impact this year. I really do. I think he's going to be huge for him.
Yeah, and they brought him in just to help free Frank Clark up and help him be more productive and live up to his contract a little more. You know what I mean? Because like the production overall, like the stats and all that, it hasn't quite matched up to the contract. So
no, not at all. But yeah, like you just mentioned, Reed and Clark are familiar with each other. back in Seattle, back in those days, I think it was the last year they played with each other. They both had double-digit sacks. Reed had 10.5. It was his career year. It was probably Frank's career year as well. And there's obviously something to having chemistry with your fellow defensive line, especially like an edge to an interior lineman, because you're running stunts with each other, and you kind of got to know the feel of, you know, how close Clark's going to come to you when you're the one diving first and coming over, or vice versa. And there's just kind of that chemistry that comes with it. So, yeah, I do think it's going to really help Frank as long as he is on the field, obviously. But no, just in general, though, I think Reed is just going to be a guy that you can play all 3 downs. He can be a good run stuffer, but he's also a really good pass rusher. And if you can have Reed and Jones on the interior on a 3rd down, man, I would not want to go against that as a quarterback. I mean, you're not seeing past them. They're going to be blocking a lot of view from you. So that's what I'm excited about. As long as they don't keep Jones on the outside too much, as long as he's still on the interior for pass rushing situations, passing downs like 3rd down, all that kind of stuff. I think it's going to be really fun to see Reed and Jones rush the passer together from the interior.
Yep, definitely.
So you don't think Chris Jones moving outside is permanent?
I don't think so. I mean, I know it kind of sounds like it. He's talking about it like it. My opinion, I think Jones is practicing defensive end right now because he is going to play some of it. I think on early downs, on those run downs, when 1st and 2nd down, short yardage conversions. Have Jones as a defensive end. He's a big dude. He's super long. The tackles aren't going to be able to just contain him and take him out of the play. He's going to be holding that edge pretty well just because he's so big, so massive compared to other defensive ends. But I do think he's just practicing that now because why does he need to practice more defensive tackle? Does he need these offseason reps at defensive tackle? You might as well get him all the defensive reps as possible, defensive end reps as possible, so he gets accustomed to that by the season. And then in the season, I imagine, and I think it's the best way to do it, like I said, 1st and 2nd down, Jones on the outside, and then when it comes to 3rd down or 2nd and long or any passing downs, get Jones back in the interior where he is dominant. He's been an all-pro player. Don't take away what his biggest strength is because it is a lot different, I think, to rush around the edge than to rush from the interior. And so I think we still need to utilize Jones's ability from the interior. So I really hope they're not just going to throw him out there and forget about it. I don't think that's a smart idea.
Yep, I'm with you on that, Ron. Let's switch gears. Let's go to the next subject here. Our guy Nate Taylor, he's appeared on the show before from The Athletic. He reported that Mecole Hardman is officially going to be listed as the Chiefs wide receiver 2 heading into training camp. Now, I just want to get your guys' opinions on that, and like for me, I'm gonna start off with myself. To me, this was as expected, right? He was a 2nd round pick. He was drafted pretty high, so the Chiefs definitely needed production to match up his draft stats and everything. Now, I want Mecole to try to get around Patrick as much as possible, man, because I mean we got to make this work. Right? Brett Veach was firm in his stance of not getting another receiver per se. So I just want to go around the room, get everyone's opinions about Mecole Hardman being the wide receiver 2, and can he live up to expectations as a 2nd round pick? Yeah,
he has to be wide receiver 2, right? Who else is going to be wide receiver 2 on this team? You're not telling me D-Rob is wide receiver 2. So when I saw that,
Pringle, I was hearing a lot of Pringle. I'm like,
I love Pringle. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Pringle, but I mean, come on. I mean, are we going to call him wide receiver 2? Like, you have to call Mecole the wide receiver 2, or else this is bad. Like, if you're not able to call him wide receiver 2 going into his 3rd year with the receivers he's got around him, he doesn't have a lot of talent behind him to kind of compete with. I mean, like I said, I like Pringle. I think Powell's someone that will be more impressive than a usual 5th round pick is, but you picked a guy in the 2nd round. He needs to be able to be your 2nd wide receiver, if not your 1st. I mean, we saw guys that went around him. Those guys are great, and Mecole has not lived up to that yet. But that's the thing. I think I want to really hammer home is, like, Andy's talked about it before. It is so hard to get down this system as a receiver. Like, he's talked about it before. Like, I remember I think it was in the Jeremy Maclin years. Just remember talking how I think he said the words 2 to 3 years it takes to really get this offense down as a receiver because he asks the receivers to do every single position. You're not just the X receiver. You're not just the Z receiver. You're not just the slot receiver. You got to play all of them. And there's a lot of complexities that go with that. And so that's what I'm like. It's just I have high expectations for him because he's a second round pick, but I'm not here saying that he's gonna burst out because I don't think we've seen enough to predict that, right? Like I don't really think like he's shown out enough. We gotta predict that he's gonna come out this year. We're just more hoping because he has to. He's a second round pick.
Yep. Hey, you know what I'm thinking? Like even let's say he is wide receiver 2. In this offense, that's really the 4th option. It's like Travis, Tyreek. I would move Clyde into that 3rd spot this year.
Yes.
And then Mecole. So are we judging this production as a wide receiver 2 on a normal team? Or he's not the number 2 option on this team. He's the number 4. So you don't have to have 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns for me to be impressed. If he got 705, hell of a year for Mecole Hardman. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think because our offense is so crazy, like, it's not the normal number 2 guy. He don't have to be John Taylor to Jerry Rice. Because we already got Tyreek Hill. We got Travis Kelce. You know what they're going to get. So you add Clyde to that mix, especially with a better O-line. Mecole ain't got to go crazy. He ain't got to have 1,000-yard year, bro, to be successful. In my opinion, bro, like you can't compare him to regular number 2 receivers across the league. He don't have to be that, and he ain't gonna be that. He not gonna beat out Tyreek Hill for snaps at all, like for real. So
no.
As long as he can give us some explosive plays, as long as he like his rookie year, and just adding on to that with the route running, bro, with the running your phase out, bro, cutting them sharp and not lazily going around. And as long as he improve in that, then he'll be good. He'll be great.
No, I'm with you, Country. I think it's not as important that he has the stats or whatever this year. What we need to see from him this year is just more ability to like win on a route and not just win when it's a design play for you. I feel like all of his big plays, he's just wide open, or it's a jet sweep that was obviously designed for him. It seems like whenever he is just a straight receiver and he's got to win on a route. First of all, it seems like there's some miscommunication issues between him and Mahomes. Am I the only one who sees that? It seems
no,
like
no, you're not the only one, brother.
How many times is it an incomplete pass to Mecole and they go to Mahomes on the camera and he's just like you can tell he's angry. Yeah, he's doing you're right. Yeah, exactly. And so that's what you got to see the improvement in. As long as that's not as much of an issue this year, he doesn't need to get to these big numbers or anything. He just needs to just show a step in progression, show that he's a better route runner this year, show that he can separate a little better on just, regular routes, not just be a guy that you have to set up on a screen. You have to set up on he's wide open on a seam down the field because the defense is paying attention to Tyreek and Travis, and it was kind of schemed up that way. Like, I need to see him like win on a route and like in the Super Bowl, like first drive of the game, like there's that long pass that goes to him, and it was a hard pass to catch. No, like don't get me wrong, it was tough, but at the same time, like at some point, if you're a second round pick, if you're going to be a starting receiver in the league, like you got to be able to like kind of go above and beyond. Like the ball just isn't going to come into your hands every single time. Like you got to be able to kind of make it happen sometimes, and it just feels like sometimes that doesn't happen with him. But I don't know. I feel like sometimes I'm a little too hard on him. But at the same time, we got to have high expectations for him. Like we said, he's a second round pick, and he's got to live up to that eventually.
Why do we ask these type of questions about Mecole? Like, why don't we expect him to be getting us 1,000 yards with Mahomes? Like, we don't judge nobody else like that. Why do we judge him like that?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a little silly, especially like Country pointed out with Clyde in the mix now. I really think Clyde might have more receiving yards than him this year. I mean, I think they're really going to feature Clyde this year in the passing game. And if he's that third receiver, then yeah, there's no room for 1,000 yards. I mean, you can't really expect that. Like you just it's not feasible. It's not something you should. And if he does get it, then obviously sign him to the extension this next year. Like get him locked up if he gets to 1,000 yards this year. But yeah, I do think we're a little hard on him as a community for sure. But I think it's just naturally when you see Terry McLaurin go off and DK Metcalf go off and all these other receivers in the second round, and we got Mecole, which, I think it was still a good pick. I get why they made the pick because, when you have Tyreek and Travis, you can't really have a guy that's going to be like a number one type. Like, you got to have complementary guys around those dudes because those are going to take up a lot of cap space too. It was kind of amazing we had Sammy as long as we did with that cap space, because I don't think you need to have a second receiver getting paid that much. But it worked out for them for that time period. But no, I just think Hardman. I think we're just a little hard on him, but it's okay to have high expectations for him. It's okay to think or to expect the best, a lot from him. We need to see it this year. It's the third year. We got to make a decision sooner or later. That fourth year, you want to know before that fourth year if you're going to extend him, right? Like, we want to know. This is kind of his make or break year. You don't want to wait till that fourth year to really find out if you got something in him or not for the long term. So it's make or break this year.
You know what's crazy though, Ron? We have seen flashes.
Of course.
I think that's why everybody's mad, because you see the potential. You've seen the flashes. You've seen the jump pass versus Tennessee where he just burns everybody. You've seen him burn the entire Ravens secondary countless times. Like, he's done it a couple times against the Ravens.
Yep.
You just want to see it on a consistent week by week, just build on it. But like I said, this is a different. This is a different offense. This is like the guy in Washington, McLaurin is crazy, but he has to be crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Metcalf don't be, Metcalf don't have to be crazy.
He kind of got to be crazy too. He's crazy as McLaurin. McLaurin got to be crazy every game. Like, that's no doubt about that. Metcalf, he got other people around him. He don't got what we got though.
See, that's them excuses, man.
It's not really. It's facts, bro. You got Tyreek Hill, a top 5 receiver.
Mm-hmm.
You got the GOAT tight end. Then you got a running back that's very versatile and an all-purpose guy. Where do I fit Mecole in that situation?
Y'all don't think that's crazy that we put Clyde as a receiver over Mecole already? That's crazy.
That's what he was supposed to be last year.
Well, here's the thing, Boogie. Like, I've heard Andy Reid said before, like, he kind of made a comparison with Clyde with Brian Westbrook. So I feel like this year the Chiefs going to try to put him in that Brian Westbrook role. I mean, not just run the ball, but get used to a lot of the pass game.
But yeah, catches, I could understand him having more receptions, maybe. I could see that, but I don't know. Mecole, we just said it, man. He got to get at least 800 yards for us to re-sign him this year. To me, at least.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was thinking at least 800. You know what I mean? But I'll say this though: if you thinking 1,000 yards, then Patrick Mahomes is a lock for over 5,000 yards passing this season. I'll just say that real quick.
No, honestly, Boogie, that's a good point though. With the receptions versus yards, it probably is fair. That's one thing last year. They did not involve Clyde in the screen game really, like as much as they probably could. Like, Le'Veon Bell had as many screen targets last year as Clyde. Like, that's crazy to me. Like,
right.
You got it. But yards wise, Mecole does average, I think, 14 yards a target or something was his rookie year. Like, just like he may not. Yeah, I feel you. Like, just his efficiency. Like, he's gonna have those 70-yard, 80-yard catch and run touchdowns. So his yardage, he probably will have more yards, but I could definitely see Clyde having more targets, more catches. I don't know. I really do think they're going to feature him heavily this year in passing. I just think maybe last year the shortened offseason didn't allow them to get Clyde like going in the pass game as much as they really wanted to. Although you'd think by the end of the season they would have, and they still really didn't want to at the end of the season. So I don't know, but that is a good point because it's more likely he gets more yards maybe than Mecole, catches, I should say. Sorry, more catches than Mecole. But, yeah, yards-wise, he averages so many per catch per target. Like, it would be kind of hard for Clyde to catch him in that respect.
Yeah. I don't think they had the line to do the screen passes like they wanted to. Like, I don't think they were capable of getting him involved more than they wanted to. Because that was definitely the talk as soon as they draft him. Like, yo, he can run and he can catch. Like, he's a dynamic catcher. He's a great runner in between, all that. So we'll see with this upgraded line. And then you can't forget DeMarcus Robinson does know the entire offense. So he's gonna steal some balls here and there. Pringle is not. I like Pringle. I don't see him being like a star. I just see him being every time he's in the game though, he fights and he plays hard, and you can tell. So I'll give him that. You know what I'm saying, Pringle? I'll give Pringle that. But man, he ain't gonna get no 1,000 yards. It's like DeMarcus came out and said, "Yeah, I want to be a 1,000-yard receiver." Not here. I'm sorry.
No.
Big year, so
I like the confidence.
It got to be a big year. He not getting no 1,000 yards though. If he get 1,000 yards, that means Pat can threw for 5. Did you already say that?
Yeah, throw over 5.
Okay, yeah. All right, my bad.
Shoot, maybe 6.
My dog and my son.
I mean, geez. He might be getting 6,000 if D-Rob's getting 1,000. I mean, that's all going around if D-Rob's getting up to 1,000.
But you know what's bad about that? That means our defense is not good if he throwing for like 6,000 yards.
Yeah.
And I think our defense is much better than it.
Yep, you're right about that, Country. All right, well, let's get on to the next topic. Speaking of a guy that I mentioned earlier that can help Mecole get around Patrick as much as possible in the offseason, I want to talk about Patrick Mahomes' head trainer, Bobby Shrew. I don't know if everybody knows him, but he's been on the timeline quite often, working out with Patrick during the offseason. He officially decided to move to Kansas City from, Patrick's hometown of Tyler, Texas. They both from Tyler, Texas. So he decided to go ahead and move closer to his client and closer to the team in general. So to me, I think this is pretty huge. You know what I mean? And of course, like he mentioned, like he wanted to be able to spend time with his family more often with this move. So it's definitely needed, man. I just feel like I'm not gonna make it a super big deal about the trainer move to Kansas City, but it kind of is a big deal at the same time. You know what I mean? I feel like the league might be in trouble, and he may be able to get around the receiving group more often too. So, I mean, how do you guys feel about it? Like, is it a big deal with the head trainer moving to Kansas City, or am I just playing it too much?
I'd be curious to see like if Mahomes was like, "Yo, like come up here, like I want to be able to work more consistently, like work. I don't want to have to travel to Texas every time I want to work out. Like if it was one of those things, or if he just made the move himself just to like be more convenient to Pat, like I don't know. I'd be curious about that because one thing we know about Pat is he has got a crazy work ethic. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was just like, you know what, like let's just take this up a notch. Like I'll help you get a new house. Like I'll help you, whatever. Like I want you up here so we can train more. Yeah, no, I think it's something to talk about because you see the workouts he puts them through. Like they're unique workouts. They're not, you don't see all the. And I know every quarterback doesn't post his workouts like Mahomes does, maybe, but you don't see all these quarterbacks doing some of the stuff Mahomes does, and it looks a little silly on the surface. But then you kind of think about what he's doing, like the balance stuff, like staying on balance, like while stuff's coming at you, and like staying, the things where he's running around the circle and stuff. Like you can see how that translates to the field, especially in the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, but you can see how that like stuff helps him and like makes him a better quarterback just like off platform and stuff. And that's where he's his strongest, when he's off platform. So I don't know. I would be curious I'm sure we'll never know, but like if Mahomes was like really like banging the table, like I need you up here, like I'll do whatever it takes, or if he was just kind of wanting to make that career move eventually anyway. But either way, I do think it's good for Mahomes. And hey, he can, I'm sure he trains other players too. So I mean, it's just good for everybody.
Yeah, I know that cone drill is hilarious, man. Like the other day, I seen him do that cone drill. I said, man, the way Patrick Mahomes runs is hilarious, but it's effective. It's effective, Like
man, he looked strong in that workout too, man. I didn't know he was that big, man. He was.
Oh yeah,
bro. Yeah, that is one thing about Pat. Like when you watch him on TV, it feels like he's kind of just like 6'1", 6'2", like not the tallest dude, like not the thickest dude. I've got the pleasure of meeting him one time in person at a Royals game. Dude is built. Dude is thick. Like he's a thick dude. Like you would not look at him like as a thick, like built, like almost like, he's got a just a little thickness, like almost like not in a bad way at all, but like not just like muscular. Like he's just like a massive dude, honestly. Like he is a big dude. And that's why he's probably able to take hits as much as he does. And probably why he has so much power in his throw and stuff, because he's got that strength in him. So yeah, he's a big dude. He's way bigger than it kind of looks like he is on TV.
No, I can tell he's thick because I mean I seen him play in college. You know what I mean? Texas Tech. You can tell he kind of had that thick build. But
Yeah.
I just seen a picture of him with Brittany and Sterling on the golf course.
Hey man, we using the word thick way too much.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Ron kicked that off. Ron kicked it off, so we're just gonna roll.
He's a big dude.
That's on me. That's on me.
No, you know what? He probably gonna plug him in with a job or something.
That's
Maybe.
And if I was like Kansas or locally, I'll be trying to get him on my squad just to keep him around. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you here with Pat? Then help me out. Because if I can get Pat to come down to my school, I can probably get some people to come to my school. You know what I'm saying? So
Chiefs
he
just
probably
opened up
plugged
their
in.
facility too.
Yeah,
That little training facility for fans.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
he probably plugged in.
The only thing about that though is like I'm sure Pat like doesn't want him to be any busier than he could be. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. I don't know how it works. I mean I don't know how often they work out, but you know I'm sure Pat's probably one of those guys that like random workout. You know, just like hey I'm feeling it. Let's go work out right now. Like you know even when he's not supposed to maybe like you know I'm sure he wants him as free as possible. That's what I would say to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. It's gonna be interesting to see, what his role is. He's just gonna continue to just be the trainer for Patrick Mahomes and nothing else. So, but it's gonna be interesting to see in that matter. But let's get to the main topic at hand, man. I see you ranked your top Kansas City Chiefs for this offseason. We're just gonna go with the top 15, just to cut it down a little bit. Let's just start off here. Number 15, you had Dan Sorensen. 14, you have Mecole Hardman. 13, you have Frank Clark. 12, Juan Thornhill. 11, Jaron Reed. So let's go ahead and discuss the 15 through 11. For me, the 15 through 11. Okay, I know you got Frank Clark pretty low, and I see why. Because Frank on paper he's supposed to be a 10 sack per year type of guy, but it hasn't been the case. I know mainly he's been having stomach issues every year for whatever reason. I don't know if it's bad or what. I don't know what the heck's going on with that. But I just feel like, Jaron Reed, I like the fact that you are pretty high on him to come in and make a big impact on the defensive line. I just got to see it to believe it in this defensive scheme. So, I mean, to me, I think on this list, I think Frank Clark is like 11, and then and I think that would probably be like the only change for me personally. So, but other than that, man, that's all I got as far as the 15-11.
Man, that's fair. I mean, that's definitely fair. We haven't seen Reed in this defense. Yeah, my thing with Clark is just he is super important. Like we've kind of already mentioned. Like he is the only defensive end on the team right now that you can really trust to play all three downs. Taco Charlton is a pass rushing situational type. You don't want him playing on rundowns a lot. He doesn't really hold up well that much. And then you got Mike Dana, who did play well last year against the run, and he had some sacks too, but he's not much of a pass rusher right now. He just isn't. You're not going to put him on a third down. So Frank Clark's really the only guy you can trust to play all three downs as a defensive end. Now we have Chris Jones in the mix too. I know that changes things, but I don't know. When you think about it, though, he just disappears a little too much for me. He does come up in big moments, right? Like it is kind of crazy. He's top 5 all time in playoff sacks. That is a mind blowing stat. I mean, he comes up when it matters, and he hasn't really played that many playoffs. It's not one of those things where he's just he has so many playoff games. That's why. No, he actually has less playoff games than a lot of the guys in the top 10. So he does come up in the big moments, but just throughout the season, I mean, it just seems like a lot. Like you get a game where you didn't even see him. You didn't even see him do anything all game. I know he's important to the defense, but I think Juan Thornhill is going to bust out this year, so that's why I had him over him. I think Juan's going to have to be super important to the defense this year. Him and Tyron next to each other. I think that's really going to be a game changer. It's going to help the corners, going to help the linebackers in coverage. That's going to be super important. And honestly, I just think his 3-down presence, his ability to be a good run defender with Noddy next to him, that's a really good run stuffing duo right there. Then also, like I mentioned earlier, with him and Jones next to each other for pass rushing situations, I just really think he's going to wreak havoc this year. He's going to be a guy that by the end of the year we're going to be fighting to get him back on the team. He's obviously a free agent after this year. We only signed him to a 1-year deal. Man, I think he's really going to take off and really be like a huge presence, like a more consistent presence, I guess, than Frank. Like trust me, I defend Frank, more than probably the typical Chiefs fan, because I do think there's a little too much hate on him. I think it's a little silly to say like he shouldn't be on the team like anymore, like try to cut him. Like you need him on the team. But man, maybe it's just me being so high on Reed right now that has me in that position. I just think Reed's going to be such an X factor for the defense, having another good interior rusher with Jones. Like that's just going to create so many problems for an opposing offensive line. So that's what I got there.
So do you think Dan is maybe a little too high?
I don't know.
I'm not hating, because like on this show we say every time you write Dan off, he do something. So do you think maybe I think he's in the 20. I think he's in the 20.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's 15 though.
See, that's
he might be though. Like, yeah, he might be.
Hey, trust me.
That's why I wanted you to do the whole 20, so I can see. Okay, you got to do 16 through 20, so I can know if I want to move him down or move him, or he'd be good.
Yeah, let me give it to you.
You got 16 through 20?
I can give it to you. So, Charvarius Ward is at 16. So, do you think? See, I think I'd have Sorensen over Charvarius, honestly.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay. What about Derek Nottie? Because he's at 17.
I would move Nottie to 15. Okay. I would move Tavarius down, and I'll put Dan at 16. Okay, so now we got him at 16.
Okay. So,
I'll put Nottie at 15 over both of those guys.
Okay. See, I love the Nottie love, because I do think he's underappreciated. The only thing with Nottie is with Reed now in the mix, and the fact that Nottie just really isn't a pass rusher. Like, he's not going to be playing pass rushing downs. Like, he's really just a run stuffer. He's a one-dimensional kind of player, but he's really good at what he does one-dimensionally. No, he's a really good run stuffer, and a guy that you kind of hope maybe you can get him on like a hometown discount or something, because he's a free agent after this year. You want to keep him around, but I don't know. I just really value pass rushing, and I think Nottie not being able to do that very well. I mean, he's a strong dude, so he can bull rush a guy, take him into the quarterback. I know he does that every once in a while, but Turk Wharton's a better pass rusher than him. I mean, that's my main thing with Nottie, and trust me, I love Nottie. I juggle with this a lot, so there is definitely room for debate, but I'll be confident putting Ward and Sorensen over him. I think their ability against the pass is just a little more important maybe than Nottie just, being a good run stuffer that you really can't play on third downs. So that's my argument.
Yeah,
who your last three?
At all. Boogie wasn't feeling that one at all.
Yeah,
who cares? Ain't nobody asking.
Dirty Dan make more impactful plays, man.
Then who?
I feel you. Okay, who's your other three?
So LDT at 18, which that's one that I was kind of like, should he even be on the top 20? Because who knows? I mean, we don't know for sure if he's going to be the starting right guard. But the more I think about it, like, come on, like, he was pretty good in the playoff run the last time we saw him. Like, the offensive line in general played pretty well. I know in the Super Bowl maybe not as much, but I think I do disrespect LDT a little more than he deserves. So, I do think he'll be the starting right guard. And he is a veteran guy that knows the system, is going to be a solid presence, maybe not a high ceiling guy. So LDT, Willie Gay at 19, Creed Humphrey at number 20, because he's going to be starting center. I think he needed to be squeezed in there somewhere just as a starting center.
First of all, Humphrey's way better than LDT.
Okay.
So,
hey, my boy Philip said Creed the best center in the league, baby.
Yeah, I seen that. I said, dang, Philip. Rookie year, bro.
Hey, I love you to death, Philip, but you gotta relax, bro. You gotta.
He's gonna be up there. I think he's gonna be up there after his rookie year, but out the gate, no.
Relax, Philip. No, man.
Nah, Philip, my boy.
Right.
No, I do feel though that it's fair to have high expectations for a second round center. Like, you see guys come out second round picks and be starting centers right away. I know Rodney Hudson wasn't right away, but he was a second round pick. And then you talk about Mitch Morse too. He was a second round pick and he was a starter right away, basically. So I've always before the draft, that was my main thing. Like, I want to get another center like that where we can just plug and play and he's the center for the next 4 years until his rookie contract's up. Then we decide on that. And I think Creed fits that criteria really well. He could have been a first-round pick, honestly. He could have been a late first-round pick, early second-round pick. So I'm with the Creed love. I think it's important we have high expectations for him, but best in the league, yeah, I don't know about that. But
yeah, the kid's gonna be really good, but no, rookie year, no, I can't say he would be the first best center in the league after his rookie year. I can't go that far.
But I could get the argument for LDT, or I mean Creed over LDT. I just had to factor in experience, right? Like at some point, I can't. LDT's been in the system long enough. He's played well in spurts. I know it's not always been great. I've had my problems with LDT in the past. And honestly, all offseason, I was kind of calling for maybe trade him somehow. I know he has a no trade clause, but work with him, get him to a team that needs a starting veteran guard. And because we have Kyle Long, obviously now you don't want to do that with Kyle Long injured, and which is probably smart all along to keep LDT around. That was probably not smart on my part to be trying to get him traded away. But yeah, I don't know. I do think there's some value to him being the starting right guard, just knowing the system, playing in it before. And he's still he's only 30 years old. It's not like he's this old dude. That's a pretty good age for a lineman.
But that's an interesting question, though. If Kyle Long was perfectly healthy, would he be in that spot over LDT for you?
Probably. I mean, yeah, probably. Yeah, he'd probably slot in exactly the same way because I don't want to put Willie Gay too high either. Like, I have really high expectations for Willie Gay. I really want him to bust out this year. But at the same time, like, I could also see us getting into the season and he's just not playing as much as we really want him to. So that's why I kind of tried to keep him lower on the list.
I think you had him about right, man. Because, I think he'll play a little more this year, of course, but I think it's about right for Willie Gay just because we've had a limited sample size of Willie Gay on the field.
Speaking of linebackers, where's Ben Neiman on it?
Oh gosh.
Let me scroll all the way down. Let me see.
Nah. Charles has a running feud with Ben Neiman. Ben Neiman knows nothing about it though, but they feuding with each other. You know what I'm saying? So we got to find a way to work him in every show.
Well,
Ben, you got to come on the show.
Because honestly, my hot take of the offseason is he shouldn't even be on the team week 1, honestly. Because I think all he's going to do is block these young guys, Bolton and Gay, from getting playing time. And I think, the Chiefs' offense is good enough. The defense around the linebackers is good enough. Bro, throw these guys into the fire. Like, let's get these guys experience, Gay and Bolton. Like, I don't care if they're young. Like, I know they're going to make mistakes, but let them make the mistakes now. So in, a year or two, they're this really good duo together. And all of a sudden we got a really good, nice duo of young linebackers that have experience that, kind of been through it. If Neiman's if Neiman's taking time away from Gay in the dime, position where it's that one linebacker where Neiman's played a lot, if Neiman's starting in the base formation over Bolton or something like that, man, I'd just be pretty upset. So honestly, I kind of wish they'd just get him out of the way so he can't block anybody from playing time. And I kind of like, I know Dorian O'Donnell hasn't done much, but, he's athletic. Like, you can throw him in too. Darius Harris has been a guy on this team that's played Mike, in that week 16 game last year against the Falcons. He actually had the green dot. So, I don't know. I just rather Neiman's just not blocking anybody, just get him off the team, and then let Gay and Bolton make their mistakes on the fly. That's how I would handle it.
Oh, you know what?
I'm with you, Brian. I'm with you on that, Brian.
We know you with him. You know what? This is an interesting thing. We talked defensive tackles. We didn't mention Colin Saunders one time. Why is that?
He might not make the team.
He did mention him, did he?
Yeah, no, I mentioned him a little bit, but just
okay. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good because I didn't have him making the team actually for a while because I update my 53-man roster prediction, and for a while when it was Chris Jones, we didn't know Chris Jones was playing DN. The Chiefs just haven't historically kept more than 4 defensive tackles, and you really don't need more than that. And you can always find a 5th guy, just like the Mike Pennell, the Mike Pennells of the world. You find them kind of off the street and just bring them in if you really need somebody. But at the same time, now that Chris Jones is going to be playing some more defensive end, maybe you can bring, have those 4 guys as defensive tackles, and Colin Saunders is just a nice little rotational piece at the bottom of the rotation. But I don't know. He's still on the fringe, right? Like he's not a for sure lock. They probably give him a chance. It's his 3rd year. I think and I think I mentioned this earlier. It is hard for defensive linemen to get into the NFL right away and contribute. Like I think we've seen that as Chiefs fans with like a D Ford. I know he's a little different position, but D Ford, Glenn Dorsey even, like he wasn't good right away, but he did turn into a solid player as his career went on, that kind of thing. So I just think he's on the fringe right now. I think he will survive probably the roster cuts, but he's definitely kind of holding on for dear life. He's got to have an impressive training camp.
It's just something about that kid. He's athletic. Like
exactly.
He was going crazy at the that was Chris Jones at the Tyreek Hill game, but he's hella athletic. And then when he did fill in, he played a little linebacker last year.
Right.
He didn't look like he was completely out of whack. You know what I'm saying? So I think that he got taken out by injury, and then Wharton came in and started really, really playing. And you know, you got to go with your hot hand. So I mean, hopefully, I think he'd get a fair shake. But yeah, he is on the fringe. I think he can work his way in though. But yeah, you got a valid point there.
Because I'll take him over Ben Neiman right now.
You said what's that?
I said I'll take him over Ben Neiman at linebacker right now. Colin Saunders, he looked pretty damn good in Week 17 against the Chargers.
I like it. I like that thought. Just label him a linebacker, then you're good. Then you're good. Just replace Neiman. I like it. I'm with it.
Spag said he reminded him of LaVon Kirkland that day, dog. I'm just saying.
That was kind of wild for him to throw out. But.
I mean, yeah, but you know, he still looked good in the limited time he did play linebacker in Week 17. So.
No, and that's the thing. He is so athletic. He is a like. You know, I don't want to say super athlete, but like for his position, like you don't find guys that can do the stuff he can, like the backflips and stuff and all that, and just the ability to play linebacker. So that's probably intriguing enough to keep him around just to see, because like we said, it's his third year in the league. Like he could still be coming around. Like this could be his breakout year. Maybe he's really comes around this year, you know, but I'm not holding out hope at all because he is buried on the depth chart. I mean, he is solidly behind Naughty, Reed, and probably Wharton. I mean, Wharton earned playing time. Like he should be playing quite a bit this year. Like there's no unless Saunders impresses more in training camp. But Wharton was really good last year as a pass rusher. It was very impressive.
Yep, sure. All right.
He came out of a small school too, so he had to raise his level too. So he was fighting. He fighting. I think he might be one of the guys to watch in St. Joe in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
I can't wait.
Well, let's get to the top 10. For the top 10, start out at number 10, you had Anthony Hitchens. Number 9, you had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Number 8, you had L'Jarius Sneed. Number 7, you had Joe Thuney. And number 6, you have Orlando Brown Jr. Now with this list, I think that
you say Lionel Brown or Orlando Brown. Who you say?
I said Orlando Brown Jr.
Oh, I thought you said Lionel. I was about to say, who's that?
Clear your ears.
Hold on, you got him over Tony? I don't know about that.
Who? Brown? I have Brown over Thuney. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
Bro, my thing is the positional value, right? Like I almost had Thuney lower on the list just because he is a guard. Like that really, we've seen the Chiefs succeed with low-level guards in the Andy Reid era. It's actually what they usually do. It's actually why it's kind of surprising they even did the Thuney deal. And I know they signed LDT too, but a lot of the time you see them, they just grab dudes, later round picks or just cheaper veterans, and they just plug them in and it works. But I just think tackle is so much more important. I think left tackle specifically is so much more important than left guard. And I do think Brown and Thuney, Brown's just a younger guy. He's just not as proven yet as Thuney is. I do think Brown could get to the point where he's at the lead of his position like Thuney is. Maybe not to that extent because Thuney is, I think he is the best guard in the league besides maybe like Quentin Nelson. So yeah, I feel you. Just as a talent level wise, Tooney's probably the more talented player right now. But positional value, I think Brown. That's why Brown takes the cake.
Anytime you hold your own against Myles Garrett, year out, I could see him being like near the top of the list like this. So, but the only thing with your top 10 is Hitchens. Yes, he's very important in the middle. He's gotten better. You know what I mean? He's been very solid. I would have Frank Clark in the top 10 and put Hitchens at 11.
Okay.
That's just me.
I'm with you on that.
No, I think that's fair. Because when we kind of like we talk about, like Frank is really important in the defensive end room. Like we need him, but I do think when you factor in Hitchens, like his pre-snap ability, his ability to get everyone lined up in the same place, and his ability to just kind of communicate everything and get people, knowing what's about to happen. Like, I really think that's important, and Spags has talked about that. And he has gotten better this last year. I know it was kind of fun to rag on him his first 2 years here, but down the stretch of last year, he was a better linebacker for sure. I see your argument for Frank, and that's the thing, man. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, I was weighing like talent level with importance to the team. Like, it was kind of hard to balance those two things because I really tried to factor both of those in. And I do think Hitchens might be more important to the team, and Frank's a more talented player. But I don't know. It is a good debate. I think I like your thought on that, because I think Frank
see a point too, though. I'll see a point too, though. Importance, because like you just mentioned, Hitchens does do a good job of getting guys lined up in the right spot on defense. That is just as important. So you definitely make a great point in that aspect. So
when Frank Clark is healthy, he makes more impactful plays, though, right?
Right.
Yes, right. I'd agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. And you got to factor in availability, though. I know Hitchens has missed. I think he missed 1 game or 2, maybe. He got his hand hurt last year or something, right. And Neiman had to step in. And I don't know. Neiman at middle linebacker is a lot worse than maybe like Taco Charlton at defensive end, rather than Frank. So, that's the thing. I think maybe that's where I'm weighing it. Where if Hitchens was off the field, although I don't know. The more I think about it. Is it more detrimental to the team if Hitchens off the field than Clark off the field? That's a tough question, but I see where you're going, because when he is healthy, and like we said, situationally, bro, in the postseason, man, he racks up stuff, man. He is a closer. Like he earns that nickname for sure. When it's the fourth quarter and they're passing, he brings out his best pass rush moves. I remember, the one he brought out in Taylor Lewan in the AFC Championship a couple years ago, the fake spin back, like. He knows when to bring him out. Like, he doesn't just bring him out in the first quarter. So I'm with you. And I like Frank. So I don't, I'm not trying to rag on him. So I love Frank. Just maybe not as much right now, but
yeah. Who almost made the list, the top 20, but it was real close.
Yeah, I think Turk Wharton was a guy that I almost tried to put in over Creed, but when you talk about Turk being a more situational player, Creed being the starting center, which is an important position, I think that's where Creed got the edge over. But I thought Taco and Turk are right there, either one of them, because I'm high on Taco. I think he's going to be important to the team this year. But just last year when he did play, he was a really good pass rusher. I mean, he had one of the best pass rushing rates in the entire league last year. He got a pressure on 21% of his pass rushes, and elite pass rushers get pressure on about 15% of them. So. And obviously a small sample size, but I mean, he was very effective as an edge rusher last year. So if he can be healthy all year, I think he will be that situational edge rusher that really does give him, a big boost off the bench or, on third downs So on third down, we got Clark, Jones and Reed in the interior, and then Charlton on the other defensive end. I really like that four defensive lineman set going after the pass rush or going after the quarterback. Obviously, if Frank's around and stuff. So yeah, that's where I think Taco's going to be that guy at defensive end on third downs. I think he's going to be relied upon. You'll see him a lot on pass rushing situations. So he was right there for me in the top 20.
Okay.
The list is solid. It's a couple of things you can nitpick. It's mainly nitpicking more than oh man, bro, how'd you do that? It's more nitpicky, you know what I'm saying? So, but the list is very, very solid. The top 5 is the only argument is maybe you have my Tyron a little higher, maybe.
Yeah.
But Pat, Tyreek, Travis, Tyron, that's the list. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be the top 5 regardless. Yeah. Them guys are locks,
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. Round top 5. Ron, you had Tyron at 5, Chris Jones at 4, Tyreek at 3, Travis at 2, and of course Patrick Mahomes, the MVP at number 1. All right, so top 3 obvious, man. Patrick and Travis, they got the strongest Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? Quarterback, receiver, it's all about that. It's like a Wi-Fi connection. And Patrick and Travis, they got the strongest connection. And Tyreek is up there too. Now, like Country said, I'll probably have Tyron over Chris Jones. And just for this reason only, like Tyron, you could line him up anywhere on the field and he'll impact the play. You know what I mean? Like whether you need him to break up a pass, where you need him to line up in the slot, or line him up on the outside even, or like send him on a blitz. You know what I mean? You just impact the game in so many ways. And, you know, Chris Jones, yes, you definitely need a strong front seven to be a strong, effective defense. That's more important, right? But with Tyron's just a different breed, man. Like he's that Swiss Army knife to the defense. I think he's more of the leader and more of the MVP of the defense, in my opinion. So that's what. So I had Tyron at number 4. That's just for me.
Yeah, no, I think there's an argument to be made there, and I've definitely seen some people make that argument on Twitter too. So I think you're right about the leadership part. I do think Tyron's leadership is very important, and he's definitely more of a leader than Chris Jones, right? I mean, Chris is the high energy guy, kind of just like the fun guy that kind of gets everyone hyped up, but he's not much of an actual leader. Like Tyron's a leader of people, you know. He and I think he deserves a lot of credit for the progression we've seen from Juan Thornhill and L'Jarius Sneed. I don't think they're as good as they are without, you know, being in the same locker room, being in the same backfield as Tyron. I really think that's helped him, especially a guy like L'Jarius. I mean, how did he come in as a rookie, play the slot position after coming back from injury, something he didn't really practice in the offseason, and all of a sudden he's great? Like, I think that's got to be something with Tyron. So I'm with you on that. I just, like you kind of mentioned with the front seven, I just think it's so much more important to have good pass rushing than it is to have like a good secondary. And when you think about, like I just mentioned with Sneed and Thornhill, I do think if you lose Tyron, let's say Tyron, you know, is hurt, you know, knock on wood, he's hurt and he's out for a game, I think they could survive that a little more than if Chris Jones was out for a game, you know, just because Thornhill is a good safety. Sorensen, you know, I know there's some quibbles with him, but he is, you know, he's a dependable guy. You know, he's a guy that you can plug in different positions, you know, deep safety or box safety. He's going to play well to an extent, I guess. And then, you know, Sneed can play that slot. He can kind of move around as well. So, yeah, I think if Chris Jones was out, though, where is the pass rush coming from? Because Reed all of a sudden doesn't get as much, you know, open space with Jones out of the game. We need Clark to step up in that situation. I just think it's a lot harder for the pass rush to get it going without Chris Jones than it is for the secondary to have a good game without Matthew. So that was kind of my deciding factor because it was really close. I mean, I think Tyron's leadership argument is a good way to kind of argue that he should be over Chris, because I think that's super important to the team. I think that is, but man, I don't know. Chris is just such a dominant defender. Pass rusher. He's second best in the league, and Tyron, you can make an argument, I guess, is maybe the best safety in the league. So I guess, you know, that doesn't really make my argument any better. But yeah, I just love pass rush. I got to think it's more important, and Chris is so dominant at that. And I do think, like I said, if Tyron is out of a game, I do think they could survive that a little better game to game. Maybe not over a whole season. You know, maybe you want Matthew over a whole season. You know, obviously over Jones, but because that leadership aspect. But you know, just game to game, I think it's more important that Chris Jones is on the field than Tyron.
Yeah.
So
Too.
Say it again.
Don't underestimate him being that energy guy, being at them games. I'll be loving when Chris Jones get his hype.
Yeah, he's always hyped. He's always get hyped.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. No, that is a good point, because especially you got to, like, that's another thing with pass rushing. I feel like a lot of it is effort, right? Like if you're putting in like high effort on a snap, like you're probably going to you're probably going to have a better pass rush snap than, you know, normal. But like high effort in the secondary, you know, there's only so much you can do as a high effort guy, because it's a lot of intelligence. You just got to know what you're doing more than like actually like try really hard on a particular play. And so, yeah, Jones hyping his defensive lineman up and stuff, and him just being a high energy guy, I do think that helps the pass rush. I think that's you do need to have, if you're a high effort guy in the pass rush, it helps more than if you're a high effort guy in the secondary. So I like that. That's a good point.
Yeah, and I love Chris.
I was going to say, what guys do you have maybe like cracking into that list? I think I can name. I think Mike Hughes, if he stays healthy.
Okay.
Trey Smith. And you had Creed on the list though. So, and the rookie Powell. I think those three guys could possibly be cracking that list next year.
I think one guy
not high, but at the lower levels, like in the 20s, like jumbo around that. right there. But they could be cracking that top 20, top 25 guys on the team with solid years, solid productions, or solid progress.
When you mentioned Hughes, I do think it's important that we kind of give more love to a guy that I think is really underrated now. We don't really talk about it anymore because of Hughes and even Baker too, but Rashad Fenton is a good player. I mean, I like Rashad. I think he was actually a guy that's kind of on the fringes too. I actually ranked these all to 30 and he was 23, so he's right there. But I really think we'll see him be that second outside starting cornerback in nickel formations when Snead moves inside, which I do think is the right move. I think Snead needs to play slot when there is three cornerbacks. Then obviously in base formation, he's one of the two cornerbacks. But I do think Fenton gets a little underrated. I mean, we saw it when he had to step up last year. Was it the Patriots game? Man, he went – I know the Patriots didn't have good receivers or anything, but, man, he went off. He had a couple pass breakups. He was like – I remember PFF had him as like one of the highest rated – I think the highest rated Chiefs defender that game. He does step up when he needs to, and he's made plays before. So I think that's a guy that's a little underrated and a guy that could, play over Hughes and Baker and be that third cornerback and make plays, dude. I don't know. He's a good special teamer too. I think Fenn's a little underrated all of a sudden.
He give me those same thing you said about Byron Pringle, that every time he get an opportunity, he play hard and he show up. He the same. Yeah. Him and Fenton the same. Him and Sleep is the same guy, for real.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I am kind of high on Hughes. I do think we're going to see some good stuff from Hughes. I like – it's really been injury that's kind of screwed him up. I think he's played decently well. I mean, I'm not – we're not expecting anything, great, fantastic from Hughes. He just needs to be a solid corner in that third or fourth spot role. And I think he could do that. I think he fits kind of what Spags wants. He's physical. He's kind of a smaller dude, but he brings the wood, man. He can hit you. He's good in press and all that. So I think he is a guy we need to kind of, keep our eye out for. But that's the thing. I just think Rashad right now kind of has earned that role over him. So we'll see how it goes. That's one of the training camp battle I'm excited for. Kind of the cornerbacks behind Snead and Ward, like who steps up. We'll see if Baker's good, if he's back from injury. I know Keys is still in the mix a little bit too. So
Bo Pete,
yes sir, great name.
Yep, shout out to Bo Pete, man. But yeah, Country, since you did mention Trey, let's get on to the last subject of the show. Right before we kind of concluded. Ron, you wrote a recent article about Trey Smith. He was on Fox Sports Big Boys Club with Geoff Schwartz and Duke Manyweather, the offensive line guru. So we all watched this segment with Trey Smith on there, and Trey Smith broke down like his two favorite plays that two favorite plays that he was a part of in college. One of them was Ray Ohio, and another one was called Red Packer. And he mentioned like how his favorite scheme to run is like the inside zone scheme, and he was breaking all the way down. He was breaking down like how he will pull, to the other side, and he was breaking down what the tackles would do and what the center would do for each play. And it was pretty interesting. Like he looked like a guy that's ready to come in and contribute at any moment, just based on his intelligence in that segment. So, just break that all the way down for us real quick, Ron.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really impressive too, and that's why I wrote the article. It's a little clip. I didn't have to write anything about it, but when I watched it, especially the thing that's interesting about it is how impressed Geoff Schwartz was. He was like, man, this. How many linemen come in here and just scribble stuff up there and don't really write a defense. They just know their assignment or the line's assignment, not anything else. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Trey Smith was talking about what the running back should do on the play, what the tight end should do on the play. I mean, and he just understood it so well. I feel like he articulated it really well too. I mean, that's a skill to have, man. As someone that coaches, I coach youth football. It's hard to kind of you think something in your head that's like, oh, that's a good teaching point, and then when you start to talk about it, it's kind of hard to put it into words sometimes, make it something you kind of understand. And he was really good at articulating it, kind of just explaining it all thoroughly, and that just shows you that he's a smart dude, intelligent dude, and a dude that cares about football. Like he really wants to, be smart about it. You don't get that smart just, naturally. You work at it. And so, but that's the other thing too, is he was talking about that. I think it was the second one, the polling play. Yes. Yeah. I loved what he said about it. He was like, this is my play. When they call this play, I know I'm about to mess somebody up. Someone's getting blown up. I love that attitude too. When you're smart and you kind of have that, you like the bully dudes, it was kind of funny. He was kind of saying how, like, in high school, when he really realized he could just, mess with all these dudes in high school because he was so much better. That was the most fun part, was when he knew he could kind of just bully dudes. That's the kind of attitude you want on the line. You want someone that's excited about just. That's the thing. I feel like so much now you get, like, especially at the youth level, you get guys that don't want to be a lineman. Like they're so big, but like, oh, I want to play fullback. I want to play, I want to be this, that. Like, it's so nice to hear a lineman that takes pride in being a lineman and the nuances that go with it. Because, from the outside, it's kind of a boring position, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And it's just nice to have a guy that does take it seriously and stuff. I think the video said a lot, and I do think it's just another reason why we should be excited about this dude. Maybe not this year, but especially down the road. I think he's going to be a starting guard and a really good one.
Yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned, when he's talking about the red Packer play, he mentioned like how it was his favorite gap concept, and he was like, "Hey, when they call this play, it's my time to shine. Someone's getting knocked out."
Yes,
and I definitely love that quote from Trey Smith, because in the play offensive lineman, being a trenches dog, you gotta have that nastiness, man.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing too. Talking about the pulling play, as Chiefs fans, we've gotten used to Andy Reid. He runs a lot of zone, right? Like just straight up zone runs where you're not pulling anybody, and really what a zone run is he just getting in front of defenders and letting the running back kind of see where the seam kind of opens up for him. Now that we're getting these bigger dudes, the Orlando Brown, Joe Tooney's not the biggest dude in the world, but he's just a good guard, and Creed's a pretty big dude, and Trey Smith's obviously a big dude. When you're getting these dudes, maybe we're seeing a transition to that more gap scheme where you do have a pulling guy coming around, everyone's down blocking, opening up a particular gap, and someone's coming up through that hole and blowing up the linebacker and really springing a running back. You get bigger plays, like more home run plays out of gap scheme runs. Zone runs you're not going to get the big home run plays as much. Obviously, we see them, but gap schemes is really where there's a hole and it blows wide open, then the running back's just scooting through it. So I do think that's one thing that we might be seeing more of that, and that just might lead to a more dominant run game and a better run game where they don't have to pass as much. Maybe they can just rely on running it down people's throats and just killing it. So yeah, that's another thing I took away from it is maybe they want to do more of that kind of stuff, pulling guards and blowing up, guys and opening up holes instead of just running zone and seeing where the running back can fit in.
And that's one thing with Andy Reid, man. Like at times, man, he gets a little pass happy. I mean, that's what his MO career. And I mean, he's been in the league long enough to know by now, like, look, I know you love your toy. I know you love to use Patrick Mahomes' his incredible ability to make plays and all that. But sometimes you got to take the load off him. And with the run game, it's going to make his job easier. So you gotta find a way to incorporate that a little more. And if he does, man, it's going to make everybody's job easier, man. I think Clyde should have a great second year. You know what I mean? And then it's just going to make Patrick Mahomes' job easier and everyone else on the offense job easier. So.
Yeah, exactly. No, it really will. No, I think Mahomes could have maybe not his best statistical year, but just his best year in general, just because of that. Honestly, the run game being able to be so strong where he doesn't have to throw it so much, so he's more efficient. Maybe he has less turnovers. I know he didn't have a ton of turnovers anyway, but right. Yeah, no, I really do think the run game is really going to help Mahomes this year. And yeah, I don't know, man. I'm so excited. I can't wait for training camp. It's coming up. We're getting there. It's kind of that dead period, man. I'm getting tired of just, trying to find stuff to talk about instead of just having, live things to look at and watch. So I'm ready, dude.
Speaking of training camp, man, when are you going to head out there to St. Joe?
So 29th, I think, is the first day I'm going to be there. I'm going to look at a calendar. I think it's Friday the 29th or maybe Thursday. I think it's the second day they have, or it's the first open practice. I know they have a season ticket member the first day. So I'll be there 29th, I believe August 2nd, and then one of the last days of training camp too, like August 17th. So yeah, if you guys are out there, man, let me know. I'd love to meet up and talk Chiefs and watch stuff, with you guys. So yeah, definitely let me know.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're thinking the 29th for the first day. That's what we've been discussing. So
good. Yeah, no, it's kind of annoying you have to buy tickets this year, but got them done. So I'm gonna be there.
Yeah, for sure. Boogie, did you have something to say, man? You gotta mute your mic.
Nah, yeah. One more thing before we get out of here. We didn't ask about Harry. What y'all think about Patriots? I said Patriots. Patriots receiver asking for a trade. Yay or nay?
Nay.
I'm gonna say no, man.
Yeah, the nice thing is it sounds like it'll be pretty low draft compensation if they were to make a deal, so it's not like you're giving up a lot, but I just think you already got a nice trio of guys in that similar where they're not super fast, but they're kind of stronger, bigger guys that can kind of, catch over a dude maybe in Robinson, Pringle, and Powell. I don't know. Is it worth bringing Harry in to just have more competition there? I mean, one of them is going to have to be cut now. If you like Harry over one of those guys, then that's the case, but I don't think I do. So no, I'm good on that, but I do think it's something it's worth asking, right? I mean, because he was a first round pick.
Yeah. They asking for a 6th round, I think they said.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6th round conversation. Yeah.
So, go to Green Bay.
That's what we traded for Mike Hughes. So I mean, and Mike Hughes is just going to be a 3rd or 4th corner. So if you're thinking about it like that, like it might be worth it just to get a shot on the guy, but he doesn't really fit what the Chiefs want at receiver anyway. He's not a fast dude. He's not going to create separation. I know D-Rob and Pringle don't really do that either, but at least they know the system. That's kind of the most, and they're good blockers and everything. So yeah, I'm out on that.
Yeah, real quick though, just to conclude the show, man, because Ron, we appreciate you having me on this week, but just to get off football for a little bit, I know somebody requested you guys should talk about a topic off football, at least one before y'all get off the show. I'm like, all right, so let's do it this week, man. So everyone knows, Drake Holiday, Amari Bailey's mom, and took her out to a nice private day at the Dodger Stadium. But I don't want to talk about that really. Here's what I want to talk about. Unfortunately. Shout out to my guy, Mark Gunnels. I got to cook him this week, unfortunately. He got barbecued yesterday.
Ooh, I saw that.
He said that in a versus, Drake would not lose. And that's pretty wild, man. Like, throughout the entire history of music, Drake would not lose in a versus? No, man. Like, now we got artists like Michael Jackson and Prince, just for examples, Jay-Z, I can't really say that. So what was your opinion on that, Ron?
So I'm a young gun too, like Mark is. I don't know how old Mark is, but I think we're kind of similar age. We have to be young, right? If we're thinking Drake is, I don't agree with that at all, for sure. But I do think Drake is in this generation. I mean, he is probably, if you're talking about just this generation, doing a versus, like he probably will, he'd probably be the top contender, one of the top contenders. But yeah, when you say all time, man. There's so many good artists. I mean, Michael Jackson's the first one that comes to mind. Like, you really think he's gonna beat out him? Like, no, I think that was a little. It got him a lot of clout. That's for sure. He got a bunch of retweets and likes off that. But I don't think that was his intention. But no, I don't agree with that. I like Drake. Drake makes some bangers, but I mean,
no.
Not compared to these classics.
He's not. He's not even beating Kanye.
Right.
Okay. Current Drake, no, but like when you're talking like those first few albums, I mean, he was going off. I mean, I gotta say that. I mean, nothing was the same. I liked his first album too. Thank Me Later. Yeah. No, that was when I first started like really getting into music and stuff too. I'm a youngin', so I don't know the old school stuff too much, but I do know enough to know that Drake is not in that conversation really. But
Mark, boy, no.
Mark like Nicki Minaj, so he's biased.
Yeah, I saw Chuck put that on the timeline again. I missed that the first time, I guess, although it was a long time ago. But man, that's way worse.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
Oh man. That's cringeworthy. That was cringeworthy to read over K-Dot, over Kendrick. Oh man.
No, just no. But all right, Ryan. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on this week, man. You gave us a lot of great insight, man. You gave us you ranked the players you ranked, and we'd love to have you on again at some point, man. So you're family, you're officially family.
Sweet, awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys. I really had a good time. I love talking to you. So anytime, man, anytime. Hey, me know about training camp. I'd love to, meet you guys. I met Country last time I was at training camp, so I remember that. So anytime, guys. I really appreciate you having me. I had fun.
For sure.
Hey, thanks, Ron, man. We certainly appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir.
You're doing good work at Arrowhead Pride, bro. Keep it up. Stop, bro. Chill.
The Linux is beating the heck out of Country.
Okay, I turned it the other way. All right.
But until the next episode of Kingdom Kast, we're out of here, people. Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening.
Peace.